Hi there. Welcome to Bourbon Turntable. We are the show that blends the love of music with the love of whiskey. With me tonight, as always, my good friend Drew Crawley. What's up, Drew?
Hey, how are you, sir?
I'm better than I deserve, as usual.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. No, I'm doing good as well. As we're recording this, it is the week prior to Thanksgiving. So Friendsgiving has been happening for the last couple of days, and I'm realizing that I am getting old and cannot play, touch football in the yard anymore. And definitely should have stretched a little more yesterday, but otherwise doing great.
Fantastic. Very good. And you have a new single that's out now, right?
Yes, it just came out Friday as we recorded this. So the single's called Wild Boys. It's off the album that'll be out early next year. You can listen to that wherever you find your music, primarily Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube. So more stuff to come with that. But yeah, keep an eye out for that.
That's great. Hey, and tonight we've got JP and Michael from Lucky 7 Whiskeys with us tonight. We are very excited to have them. We're going to dig into some of the very unique history and background that they have in their brand. And before we do that, we want to just tell you a couple more things. First of all, we want to tell you about the Bar Cart Co-op. We're part of the Bar Cart Co-op. It is a collection of friends who produce content for the bourbon consumer. So if you are into distilling at all, Distillers Talk is a show for you. Alan Bishop and Christy Atkinson host that show. They interview distillers from across the country and around the world, just really geeking out about the distillation process itself, whether that be at a distillery or at one's home. So be sure to check out Distillers Talk. My Whiskey Den is a show that's on every Monday night at 9 o'clock Eastern Time with Pat and Mike. And that is where craft whiskey is king. Alan also has what he calls the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute, where he'll take questions from people on social media about distilling, about grain, about what affects flavor profiles, you name it. He'll take the question and then he'll record a response to that. And it's always very, very interesting stuff, especially if you are a real whiskey geek. And of course, you know about our show, Bourbon Turntable. You're watching it now. We'll tell you more about where you can always find us later on in the show. But before we get much further, we have a very special announcement for you.
All right. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification to find out when new episodes come out, which is every Wednesdays on all of your streaming services everywhere. Apple, Spotify, whatever other ones there are, and the YouTube where you can watch the live recording itself.
Thanks, Mike. Always a trooper helping us out, promoting the show. So, JP and Michael, welcome to Bourbon Turntable. Thanks for being with us.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're thrilled to be here. And Drew, looking forward to listening to that new single. So
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
That sounds good.
Yeah. So it was very fortuitous getting to meet JP. I happened to be at Bourbon's Bistro one night, sitting at the end of the bar, and Jason Bronner, who's the owner there, had wandered in, and he was kind of holding court. And then JP and his wife came in, and
so that happens a lot. She's not my wife.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Are you talking about Dana?
Yeah.
Or Dana? Yeah.
Dana.
Apologies.
And a wonderful husband.
No, it happens all the time. It's really
It does. All the time.
Well, you just got that kind of relationship where you can just pick up very quickly how comfortable you are with each other. So my apologies for making the assumption.
No, we laugh about it a lot.
But that's how we met, and we connected by email a couple of times, and glad we were able to work it out to have you guys on the show, because I'm very interested in what you're doing. And because it seems like it's a little different than a lot of people that are sourcing whiskey. Mm-hmm. And so we want to dig into that. But before we start talking too much more, we want to start drinking a little bit,
that
and
always helps.
yeah, well, that it kind of helps the conversation go along sometimes.
Oh,
So we're going to start with this one, the
nice
the
picture.
Frenchman. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Drew and I are going to pour a little bit of that, and hopefully,
Yes.
Michael, you and JP.
We do. We
have,
just got
some as
these
well.
in, by the way, guys. Let me see if I could go across here. Got our lucky
beautiful.
7.
Look at
Wait,
that.
I'm a little backwards with the camera.
No, you're good.
but yeah.
We're getting it.
Yeah.
I love that gold embossing on it. That's
Yeah.
sharp.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
were we met these guys at the Bourbon Festival, the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. We saw them almost every night. And I think it was like one of the last nights there. We're like, hey, can we get your business card?
Yeah.
We'd love to do something with you guys. So we finally got these in, and we're really happy and proud of them. So
Michael, put that back up there.
I'm having a hard time. Like, oh, there we go.
There you go.
So
Yeah, it's a little
light.
backwards.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's good
Let me
looking.
try to. Yeah, thank you. We got the gold on there. Everything's opposite on the camera, so that's
Yes,
why
it is.
I don't think I'm drunk or anything yet. I'm just
Not yet. No, okay.
So, but yeah, it came out really nice.
Those are sharp.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So Drew and I are going to start sipping on some whiskey here. So while we're doing that, I'd like to know, how did you guys meet?
We're gonna drink with you.
That sounds like a good idea. Cheers.
Go ahead, John.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We met on the streets of Chicago. Me and Mike are both Chicago boys, and Mike currently lives in Los Angeles, but we went to University of Illinois at Chicago.
Okay.
And I had heard from one of my roommates he was valet parking right below our apartment in the West Loop of Chicago, which today is kind of one of the hot spots of Chicago where Michelin star rated chefs have their restaurants. It used to be kind of that meat packing type of and produce district of Chicago, but now it's more restaurants and bars and hotels and things like that. So
yeah, it was pretty rough when we were there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was 3 really popular restaurants, and the closest kind of famous landmarks were the Oprah's Studios and then the United Center where the Bulls and Blackhawks would play. So that became a place where the players would often go. Their family would go before maybe, and then the players would come afterwards. Well, anyway, my roommate said he was working for this guy, Mike, at these 3 restaurants valeting, and he was coming home every night with a whole bunch of cash from parking. And then he would just work what we would call a Bulls rush, where the people come in, eat fast, and then go to the game.
Yeah.
Work 3 hours and still would come home with a bunch of cash. So I'm like, I think I was working at a fish aquarium.
You were. I remember that.
So I said, he goes, no, I'll introduce you guys. And, Mike's always looking for valets. And I started working for him, and that's how it was. We were making a lot of money. Mike owned the company. And then we became really good friends right away. But it was kind of that time where the Bulls were winning their kind of the second three-peat of the Bulls championships. So we would park their cars. We met Jordan over and over, and all the Scottie Pippen, all those guys. They knew us by face, and they knew we'd take care of them. So that was kind of we always talked about doing it like we should do a documentary about that time when we were valet parking, because the Bulls were the biggest show in entertainment, not just sport.
Yeah.
So,
Now was that the Rodman era of the Bulls also?
Rodman era.
Yeah.
So you would have on a Tuesday night, you'd see every big star coming in there, Robert Downey Jr., Billy Corgan.
Just Smashing Pumpkins were always in there.
Yeah. So that was those are stories we talk about a lot because it was a really fun time. And me and Mike remained friends for a long time, and he moved to Los Angeles, and we still talked here and there, and we started to get into bourbon, and we would call each other and say, hey, I found this, the allocated stuff that everyone's searching for, and And then there's some stuff that you could find in California that maybe you couldn't find in Chicago, and same vice versa. So then we were comparing notes, sending bottles, things like that. And Mike's, his what would you call him? Like your brother-in-law, kind of brother-in-law?
Yeah, brother-in-law-ish. Yeah.
So he's
my sister's baby
really
daddy. Yeah.
Right.
But we were really close. He's a movie director here in LA. Grew up in Minnesota, but moved to LA and became a movie. His passion's movies, and he was a director. And
he
go ahead.
Mike,
I'll let you finish.
Yeah, he asked Mike. He had a life
Indie
rights
film.
a film and life rights to this true story of an avalanche film, and he wanted Mike to try to sell it. And Mike told him, "Yeah, I also got my friend JP who'd be good at that too, to try to sell it at Sundance Film Festival." So Mike called me, and I said, "Absolutely, let's do it." Well, in the end, we felt like we were really good at it, and then he wanted us to go to Cannes Film Festival in France. So once again, of course, let's do it. And it was funny because even in our villa, people are like, "How did you meet all these people?" Executives from HBO and things like that. And I'm like, well, they were bouncing around to these forums, and at the end you wait in line and to talk to someone that really,
or the workshop or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, you go to the hotel lobby bars, and then didn't take me to figure out which 3 you go to, and that's what me and Mike. I'm like, "You want to come with us?" So we took a whole pack. This is how you do it, type of thing.
Yeah.
But we had a great time doing it, and at the same time, me and my brothers owned a trucking company. Mike's became the valet king of Chicago, but we were searching
the Abe Froman of valet parking.
So we were getting a little burned out in what we were doing, though. We ended up selling our company, and then I started like a black car service. But at the same time, what are we going to do? Let's do something. We knew we were like-minded. We knew that we could be business partners, because even if me and Mike have an argument about something or disagreement, it's like over, like we can move on, and it's like nothing ever happened. So, we started to go down that road and look into taking a trip to Louisville to meet with contract distilleries, and the minimums were super high, of course. And we're like, okay, maybe not, maybe that's not it. And we had heard about people, sourcing barrels even for themselves. So me and Mike, hey, what if we got our own barrel, just had our own barrel?
Yeah, that's when we were thinking about just doing a barrel pick at a, good distillery in Kentucky. Right. This is us, like, no idea what we're doing at this point. We just, we were getting shot down with contract distilling. And then we were getting shot down with the barrel pick programs at some of the distilleries, because they just stopped doing it altogether because they were so busy. And but we were learning a lot, and we were meeting a lot of people. I mean, this is probably 2-3 trips into Kentucky already. And we had, during those trips, we'd met a barrel broker, a bourbon broker, a few bottling facilities. We had met just a lot of like people we didn't expect to meet. And John and I were comparing notes. We're like, well, we can kind of connect all these dots and put together, a small brand here. We didn't want to do that. Creating a brand in any industry is daunting. I mean, it's just incredibly hard, especially in bourbon. I mean, the competition's insane. You walk down that aisle in the liquor store, it's all brown. And it's just like, how do you stand out? So that was not our intention whatsoever.
Right.
But we really wanted to do something together. We really liked bourbon. We had these dots that we could connect. So we took that leap together. And here we are. But it's been a long road, and there's still a long road ahead of us. But that's kind of how it all formed. Was what John just described, a friendship from early on in college, working and parking cars, freezing our butts off in Chicago in the winter, to, hanging out and becoming really close friends and doing something together like this. That's kind of how we ended up here.
So, and we did hire, we hired a consultant though, after kind of some really positive, Louisville trips.
Consultant was, so that consultant was the glue for us. When we met, we were introduced to Richard. He's our partner now.
Richard Wolf.
And he kind of connected. He helped us connect and glue all the dots together. And he actually helped us source our first 10 barrels of whiskey of Kentucky bourbon, and that's what started it, really.
Yeah, we knew we obviously needed to talk to an expert, and boy, did we get a hold of the right one. Mike did.
Yeah,
and now we work with his daughter as well, Monica Wolf.
Monica,
who always
Monica's and Monica's the one who introduced us to Ashley, who's her business partner. So Ashley's our master blender. So they work hand in hand. So it's this family that kind of we stumbled into, that now we like to consider ourselves part of the family. We're pretty close with them, and so everything was sort of serendipitous. And
but she said, how did you get Richard to answer the phone? Because he's not really
Monica,
Mike's like, he answered.
Monica calls her dad Richard. Like, I think it's really funny. How do you get Richard to call you back? We're like, well, I just kept calling. It's like he never calls anyone back. Like, I don't know.
But going into that first Richard meeting, we knew if we were going to do this, we're going to spend a little money to figure out if we could. So, and we knew we had the right person. So we flew him out to California, got him a nice hotel room in Santa Monica, took him out for a nice dinner, and then
we had a great time. Yeah,
we had an amazing dinner, and he said, "Tomorrow I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't get into this business, or why you should. Let's go back. We'll talk business." So sure enough, we get there with their computers and whatever, notebooks, and he's like, "Guys, this just doesn't happen." He goes, "I got 10 barrels of 12-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon, kind of just chopped off the end, the back end of the order."
He made us look at his computer. He goes, "Look, I just got this morning, this email," and he's like, "Look at the date," and it was an email. It just said, "Hey, Richard, hope you're well. Not sure if you know anybody, but we're trying to unload 10 barrels of this 12-year-old. Let me know if you know anybody that's interested." And that was like an hour before our breakfast with him. And so all of this is like, we're just trying to illustrate how like serendipitous everything was. It's just, like we had this like really nice flow into the industry. Like, and so John and I were sitting at this table with Richard, and he's like, "But you need to let me know right now, because this is going to go really fast."
Right.
And me and John sort of lean back, and we're like, it's like we shake hands under the table, like, we'll take them. We didn't have anything at that moment. Like, we had no idea. We had no name for the brand. We had nothing. All we did was we bought those barrels right then and there.
Right.
And then that sort of, we had to like, all right, now we got these barrels. We got to figure out what to do with them. Like,
the one thing we knew is we could always sell them back at some point and not.
Sure.
Right.
So that helped, but still, it was a pretty big leap of faith there we took.
Yeah.
And that's how it all kind of started.
And what year was that?
That was in 2019, right? 2019?
19 or 18?
Yeah. Well, no, we started.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could have been 2018. It was 2018 or 2019.
Yeah.
18.
Was it? Yeah, you're right. It might have been 2018. Yeah. Okay. 2018. Well, because you're right. Because we actually launched in the marketplace in right when COVID happened, like 2020.
Right.
And it took us about a year to kind of develop everything, like the name, find a bottle, all of that stuff, like corks, caps. I mean, you name it, labels, designers. I mean, all that stuff takes a lot of time and effort. So it was 2018. You're right. That was 2018, John.
So.
Yeah,
that's when that.
Because that time and effort,
Well worth
this is very detailed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was
And
great.
you guys go into, I mean, it's very well designed packaging,
Mhm.
and I know that nothing of this seems just as a throw off. Everything seems very intentional. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
Very
No,
fair.
it's absolutely accurate. I mean, everything on that bottle you're looking at was John and I's input. I mean, everything. So, we use a design firm. They're called Flow Design. We met them at one of the conventions, probably ADI or something like that. And they were there, and they had this
ADI
cool
convention.
booth. And we actually, so John, just a little background, not to bore you, but we wanted to do our own bottle. We were like, we're going to have a great bottle. We want to design it. We don't see anything out there like it. So we had went down the road of designing our own bottle. And that turned out to be a little bit of a nightmare because we had no boundaries, and we were just designing this crazy bottle, and it took almost a year, and we got nowhere with it. And so we were getting really frustrated because we still didn't have a bottle after almost a year of like input. And we were at this convention, and we saw the bottle that you just put up, our current bottle now, and we saw that at a convention. It was tucked away in the corner, and I asked to see it. I said, "Can I please see that bottle in the corner?" And they gave it to me, and I said, "Can we borrow this for an hour? We'll be back with it." They're like, "Sure, go ahead." And we were at this convention where it was everything to do with branding, so corks, labels, designers, you name it, everything was there. So John and I ran around with this bottle. We had like
Dressing it up.
neck tats on it. We had little things hanging off of it. I mean, we just went crazy at this convention. And we came back to the booth, and we gave back their bottle, and they were looking at it like, "What the hell did you guys do to this thing?" And we said, well, we'd love to order some of these bottles. And so I think our first order of those bottles was like 5,000 bottle order. And we met during that convention. We met Flow Design, who put up with all our crazy ideas and funneled it into what you see today. And so that's how it all began. Like, and so we ditched the custom bottle. That was not a good idea for us. And we worked with some boundaries. So we have boundaries, which is the bottle, and we have to work with this space, and that really seemed to work for us as far as creatively. And that's how it all kind of came together.
Yeah. So let's talk about.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jay.
No. Our dinner to confirm the year, but it had to be 18. Anyway.
No, you're right. It had to have been. Yeah, because for sure.
Okay. Well, whether it's 19 or 18, you've covered a lot of territory in a fairly short period of time with COVID thrown into the middle of it, right?
Right. Yeah.
So let's talk about what's inside the bottle.
So let's go with the nice bottle right off the bat. We know the bourbon world a little bit, and you come with a fancy bottle, and before naysayers try the bourbon, is this another fancy bottle with just some regular juice, right?
Yeah.
And that was never our intention from day one. Was one and one. Like, we wanted them both to be great, juice in the bottle, a great package altogether. You're getting I don't know if value is the right word, but we feel like it is. You get a great looking bottle for yourself, along with amazing juice with an amazing team. So
John and I were consumers first, obviously. I mean, we still are consumers. I mean, I'm still hunting down bottles I want to try, but and same for you, John. But so we were very sensitive and cautious to the pretty bottle, the pretty bottle effect, I guess you'd call it. But we still didn't want, I don't know. John and I, we wanted to be different. We wanted to stand out in the aisle. We wanted to have a beautiful bottle. We all have bars where we like to show off our, behind you, Kevin, obviously, you have quite a collection there. So everyone has a collection. We wanted our bottle to be one of the showpieces of people's collections.
Right.
So that wasn't like a negotiable for us. We knew we had to have a nice bottle, and we knew it was going to take time to win people over with the juice, what's in the bottle. But that wasn't an option for us. We wanted both. We wanted a high quality premium bottle, and we wanted high quality premium juice. And we knew what we were getting into when we went down that road.
Yeah.
Keep going with the Frenchman, Mike.
Yeah.
What's that?
Keep going with the Frenchman.
So what's in the Frenchman?
So the Frenchman. Okay. So the Frenchman is part of our barrel finished expressions. The Holiday Toast and the Frenchman are both barrel finishes. What we were doing is we're sourcing Kentucky bourbon. So we're always going to be a Kentucky brand, and we only source Kentucky bourbon. Generally it's over 5 years old, depending on what we get. But the Frenchman was a bourbon that we had finished in a new French oak cask. So we order these French oak casks from France. They come to us per our specs. So there's a bit of a toast and a char to them. They were really proud that our logo is on the head of the barrel, which is, kind of really cool for us. But, and what Ashley does, it's a long process, really. What she does is the barrels, before they're dumped into the secondary barrel, they're all sampled. And Ashley will take meticulous tasting notes on every single barrel. Every barrel is different. You'll have, some might have more cinnamon than caramel. Some might have a little more spice than vanilla. It all depends on where the barrel was stored in the rick house, how old it is, and everything. So we'll categorize everything before they go into the secondary barrel. And what we'll end up doing is we'll blend the bourbon before it goes into the secondary. So Ashley will say barrel 12, 32, 45, 62, 33. Those get blended together. Those will sit down and rest for 48 hours in a vat. Then they're dumped into a secondary barrel. Then they're aged. They're finished for a number of months, depending on what time of year it is. If it's the winter, it'll take a little longer. If it's the summer, it takes a little less. Then they're dumped out and blended yet again, and then put into a vat to fill into the bottles. So there's a lot of blending that goes on. It's a lot of care. I'm not aware. I don't know how many other brands are doing this. I'm sure there are some. We take that extra step to ensure that the flavor profiles in the whiskey are just maximized, And so also we tend to be John and I and Ashley and everyone involved in our brand tend to like higher proof. So we're proofing these a little bit higher than you would normally see. Frenchman's proofed at 113. We think that's the sweet spot for that particular expression. It doesn't sip to us like 113 proof. No. To us, it's a lot smoother. And for me at least, the notes that I get is a strong tobacco note, which I smoke a tobacco pipe once in a while. I used to smoke cigars. I've transitioned into tobacco pipes. So for me, that aroma of pipe tobacco is in the Frenchman a lot, and it's not a an overbearing flavor. To me, it sips really smooth. I'm John may get a completely different flavor off of it, but so that's sort of how we came up with the Frenchman. We wanted to do a French oak just because the Holiday Toast in New American Oak was such a successful release for us, and I personally love French oak. I have what was it called? Chartered Oak. Was that the bottle I had?
Buffalo
Chartered
Trace.
Oak. It was a Buffalo
right.
Trace.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to get one bottle, and I opened it up last Christmas. John was there. You were there, weren't you, John?
Yeah.
You opened it. I told you not to, and you opened it. And, yeah. Anyway, that was like, wow, that was mind blowing for me. And I was just like, God, this, you can really tell the difference between a French oak and an American oak cask finish, expression.
Yeah.
So that got us excited, interested in doing something like this. And one thing to note for us is these are new oak barrels. They're not old sherry casks or old,
Right.
cognac casks or anything like
Right.
that. These are virgin casks built for us, and we use them specifically for the Frenchman. And 2 or 3 runs of it, and we'll get new ones. Send those out, and keep rinse and repeat, basically.
Right.
That's kind of our profile for that.
Yeah, when we first tasted it, when it was done, we were celebrating. I remember. Was that in Jack Fry's parking lot? I think it was.
No, that's the holiday toast. No, that was the holiday toast.
You're right. Yeah.
No,
and the bottle that he told me not to open was way before that, and that was a birthday edition. He goes, just don't open the birthday Old Forester birthday.
No, it was Charter Oak. It was the Charter Oak.
It was as I was popping it.
John has a history of opening the bottles that I ask him not to open.
Right.
In my house, but it does.
You need a better hiding place, Michael.
That's part of the yin and yang.
We're going to have a more special occasion than right now.
I know. He's right. We're yin and yang. That's exactly right. No, I need John to open my bottles for me.
Well, Drew, what do you think of
one that you guys have? Okay, that's true. I think we just bottled last week.
We did.
Oh wow!
It'll be ready next week.
Cool.
Awesome. We decided to go to Tales of the Cocktail this year to see if there's any good opportunities for us next year to maybe do some advertising. We had a great time, but they did an inaugural tasting event. So we said, we're going to be there. Why not? And we won for the Frenchman won gold, appropriate for New Orleans, the Frenchman. So
sure.
And
very
we woke up to an email. Yeah, we woke up to an email the next morning saying we won best of category for the Frenchman also. So
fantastic. Yeah.
Congratulations.
And the feedback and we've been getting has been really, really good. In fact, this season's Whiskey Advocate, it was scored 92 points too. So
it's great.
Yeah.
Great.
Already getting some, some
I
don't know, decorations, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, Drew, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I really enjoy this. I'm similar to you all that I tend to lean towards the higher proof stuff. On the nose, it came across with a lot of that kind of tobacco spice. I almost got a little bit of like mulling spices or marmalade type spices on the nose. The palate for me was a total shift, and it came through. And I mean this as a positive thing. So I don't want to say it's not approachable or drinkable, but it has a nice like sharpness to it where it kind of runs right down the mid palate. Get a lot of those really pleasant spices, some cinnamon, some mint, and then it sort of dissolves into a really nice, almost like an almond butter to me, where it's kind of that you spread. You can taste the oak, you can taste the sweetness, but the spice is still really present on the front end of the palate. So I really enjoyed this, and I think you guys nailed the proof. This Ashley person and I think need to have some conversations because she's got my flavor profile dialed in.
Ashley Barnes. Ashley Barnes, she's amazing.
Yeah, Ashley Barnes. Yeah,
it's great, guys. Yeah, truly, really, really sweet.
I get some like smoked cherry on the nose, kind of with some nice baking spices there, and then on the palate, that cinnamon kicks in, and that tobacco's nice there on the finish, along with a little bit of oak, but it's not over oaked. I don't remember how old did you say this was? 4 years?
No, that you're sipping on is probably over 5 years.
Okay,
but a good point to make though. You mentioned over oak. When the barrels are they're sitting finishing. They're sampled monthly just to make sure that we're not over oaking anything. I mean, I've had calls where Ashley's like, "It's perfect. We got to dump these barrels now, like right now." We don't.
Right.
We're very like sensitive to over oaking. We don't want that that element in there at all. So we're constantly monitoring what's going on with those barrels.
Yeah.
And we listen when Ashley says,
Right.
Yeah, we're like, okay, yes.
We try too. We're like, hey, we feel like it should be ready now. She's like, nope.
Yeah.
Because we got a fill date coming up or something. Nope.
Yeah.
We got to sit for another month.
Yeah, there'll be times we're running thin on inventory, and we're like, "Is it ready, Ashley? Is it ready?" She's like, "Nope, it's not ready yet." So we're like, "Okay, we can't."
Frenchman's one of my favorite finishes of what we do, and kind of when you start smacking after it's down and in the back of your throat or whatever, in the back of your tongue, doing that kind of smacking part, it's still with you,
right?
Still, and that it's still there. It's still changing a little bit, but the Frenchman I love it.
Yeah, I get a little spearmint, tobacco. I see the. What did you say about you said like toasted cherries or what kind of?
Yeah, like a smoked cherry.
Smoked cherry. Yeah. I see that too. Yeah.
Now, can you say where you source the whiskey from?
No.
We're not generally allowed to say. We usually sign NDAs, but I'll tell you, at this point, I couldn't honestly tell you where. They're all Kentucky, but we get them from so many different sources that it's really hard to tell you where this one came from.
And it would be the same, this batch
Nashville.
one.
Yeah.
Or I think the biggest eye opener to me getting into this was how important your master blender is. A really good one, because I always say Ashley could take 100 barrels of 12-year-old juice that was laid down the same day and make 10 different brands out of it after she, samples each one of them.
Sure.
You know what? I would say this, Kevin, when we can get into more detail on that when we have a pour over at Bourbon's Bistro.
Sure. Oh, and I understand the NDA. I'm not trying to press or pry on that question, on that point at all. But just wanted to ask the question.
Please, always ask. Yeah. We're happy to answer, or we like to answer everything. That's why it bugs us.
Yeah.
I understand. Hey, well, we're going to kind of wrap up side A of the show and get into side B, where we're going to taste the holiday toast together.
All right.
We're going to talk about cinema. We're going to talk about music. But before we get into all that, we want to tell you about our friends over at Stave and Bean. John Wadle and Corey Welch started this business about a year and a half ago. They hand select coffee beans, and then they will sit them and rest them and age them in used whiskey barrels. And they have several different whiskey brands that they use for this. And I'm not a coffee drinker myself, but if I have every time I have a coffee drinker on my Christmas list or have a birthday coming up, I find a bag of this, and it's always very well received. So they're doing really great things with this. They have some blends that are actually cocktail flavored. So in Kentucky, you can get this at Kentucky Peerless gift shop and at Kroger stores. If you're not in Kentucky, go to staveandbean.com and you can order bags there. So Stave and Bean.
I do love coffee. I'm going to definitely get
I'm a coffee guy myself.
Yeah.
Well, you could probably talk to John and Corey, and they could put some beans in one of your old barrels.
Oh,
That'd be great.
That'd be awesome, actually.
Yep, and you can brand it that way. So
yeah.
Anyway, we can tell you how to get in touch with those guys if you really want to do that. So, all right.
Great.
So now let's pour this holiday toast. And
man, you got some great photos here. I'm loving these pictures.
It's called Google.
I don't have those pictures. That's amazing.
It's called Google. Yeah. And
toast here. Wait, there we go.
Hang on.
The real bottle.
Let's get the real bottle up here. Good.
Yeah. Sorry, it's so bright. But...
yeah, there we go.
It's pretty.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think batch 6 is what was just bottled yesterday, or last
right.
6. Wow.
The one I have is 5.
this is a big hit for us. And we wanted to get into finishings, and we really felt like we started off with a great product. But Kevin, I don't. You got it's your show. I started wandering into the holiday toast.
No, that's okay.
Sorry.
Let's talk about the connection that you guys have with the film industry and the name of your brand itself.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about how that originated.
Well, as I mentioned, it took a long time after the purchase of those initial 10 barrels to kind of figure out, like, we did it backwards. Like, we bought barrels and then figured out how to start a brand. You know what I mean? We owned barrels before we had any idea of like what to name the brand or anything like that. Right? Am I right, John? Or we didn't have a name at that time.
The beginning gets a little foggy sometimes, but
yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
We definitely shouldn't have been buying barrels
So,
at that point.
But JP and I always, as long as I can remember him, quoted movies together. Like, he'd throw a line out at me and I'd immediately pick up and finish the line or something like that. It was just something we did. And we loved movies from the whole spectrum, from like the 30s and 40s all the way to now, so that was just something we always did. I think we probably gravitate towards more comedy, but like Quentin Tarantino movies, I wouldn't call that comedy, but there's some humor in it anyway.
Sure.
So that's just something we had a common thread, John and I, and so that was just part of, like, when we went down this road to create a brand, we wanted something that really meant something to us,
Mm-hmm.
and we wrote down hundreds of names, cool names, great names, all, maybe whiskey centric names, but none of them really meant anything to us. And so, we just sort of abandoned those concepts. But one night I was at home alone, drinking a glass of wine, and I was flipping through channels, and I came across the movie Casablanca. I was like, oh, great. Watched it from beginning to end. Like, it seemed like 5 minutes, but it was a long movie. Mm-hmm. And I was really just like mesmerized by the movie. I'd seen it before, but just for some reason, I just really was into it. And anyway, I started Googling stuff afterwards, like facts about the movie, this and that. Where was it filmed, And I came across this NPR article about the film and how it's turning 75 years old at the time, and how they were celebrating the soundstage it was filmed in. It was filmed in Hollywood soundstage, and they toured the soundstage, and they were making a big deal about it. And it turns out this was a soundstage called Stage 7, and over the years it became called Lucky Stage 7 because all the films that came out of the stage were Oscar nominated or had won Oscars or won prestigious awards. And so they just started calling the stage Lucky 7. And I just fell in love with that article. I fell in love with the story. The next day I called John. I read him, part of the article, and he stopped me in my tracks. He's like, that's got to be our name, Lucky 7. That's it. I'm like, yes, yes, exactly. So we decided to call it Lucky 7. We had no idea if we'd get the trademark.
Right. We really wanted to make sure that we could get the trademark, though, for whatever our name it ended up being. So even though there was excitement there was still a little bit of probably not.
Right.
True.
The fact that was out there and available.
Well, it wasn't. Like, we called our trademark attorney, and she kind of laughed at us. She's like, come up with a backup, like maybe, it's like talking to like a 5-year-old, like maybe it's a little aggressive, you should maybe come up with something. But I'm like, hey, I will, let's pay for it, the research, please look into it, and anyway, long story short, it worked out. There was a few little things we had to get through. We did secure the trademark for Lucky 7 for spirits, and it's a registered trademark today. So
That's great.
It is a legit. It is. It's a legit. Band. That's. But getting that name sort of gave everything we were working towards life. We had been designing the bottle, designing everything, but getting that name, I think, was the turning point for us when it really gave it a personality, a life, and we had something that we can, show off to the world. Like, okay, here we go. We're Lucky 7. Like this is what we're doing, and that was a game changer for us.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very cool.
So the holiday toast then is
Yes. So yeah, the holiday toast, very similar to the Frenchman, but we hired Calvin Cooperage in Kentucky to make these barrels for us. These are heavily toasted, heavily charred, new American oak barrels. And we ordered, I forgot the amount. It was a small amount because we didn't know, if they were going to come out the way we thought. But we ordered a small amount. We put, I think it was 5.5-year-old bourbon in the barrels and let them finish. And we had pulled samples at the end of the summer. And this is like September, a couple of years ago. And we'd send them to Ashley. All the samples always go to her first, and then they come to us. So she's sort of like the gatekeeper for the samples.
Yeah.
So Ashley, she gets the samples and she calls me like frantic, like, "Hey, I got the samples. This is amazing. We have to dump the juice right away. It came out better than I thought." I'm like, "Okay, and we're talking more. I call her the next day or something like that, and she's like, "Yeah, I know it's amazing because Nana, her grandma, drank the entire bottle, and she can't stop drinking it. Nana loves the like. It's just amazing." So like me and John are like giddy. We're like just so excited. Like, well, right, Nana likes the bourbon, so this is like it's a good sign. So basically, what you're drinking is pretty mature. 5.5-year-old bourbon.
Yeah.
That's been finished in heavily toasted, heavily charred American oak barrels. We proofed this to 115. That was JP and I and Ashley. We collectively it's just got to be there. Like we like the high proof, and for some reason, this hits all of those notes for the holidays. It hit like the baking spices, then the gingerbread and everything. And so being so close to the holidays, and with the flavor profile being what it was, I was like, "John, what do we call this?" And we were coming up with these names, and John was like, "Let's just call it the holiday toast. It's toasted barrels and it's the holiday spice. Let's just call it holiday toast."
Little play on
That's perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
And so we decided to call it the holiday toast. We released it for the holidays. It was September, but by the time it got out and bottled and everything, we were right in late October, and we were gonna, we only did a small amount. We were just gonna do it for the holidays, and it went crazy. Like people just started like loving it, like going nuts and really owning the name Holiday Toast, and people were doing like cool Instagram like holiday reindeer, and it just people just took it and ran with it. And so we never stopped selling it. Like we sold it through the summer, we sold it through the spring, it just kept going. So we never stopped selling it. It's just the holiday toast. It's probably more available during the holidays than it is during the rest of the year, but it's something that we're trying to keep produced like all year long. And it's just doing great. So with the success of the holiday toast, that's what really got us interested in doing something, another finish with the Frenchman.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it all started.
It's great.
Wow.
Well, I think you guys nailed it with the name. I don't want to jump too far ahead of you there, Kevin, but
No, go.
The nose to me is just so appealing. You have this beautiful mixture of almost a floral, but when I say floral, what I mean is like the honey. Like if you've ever had like local clover honey kind of thing, blended with a leathery kind of a darker aromatic thing. It's a much softer palate than the last one, and that could be the influence of the American oak rather than the French oak, just how my palate perceives that. But then it's just this beautiful blend of like nutmeg and vanilla and very, very, kind of emotional flavors that I associate with the holidays. So yeah,
we hear that
this
a lot.
one,
We
That's
this
get
one
a lot
knocked
of
out of the park.
That's
We
funny
get a
you
lot
say
of-
that, Drew. We've the emotional part in making making you think of holidays and good thoughts. We've heard that before. That kind of surprised me that you said that.
Yeah. Well, it's actually, to add to what John was saying, like that when we knew we were tugging at those strings, that made us kind of feel like this is more than just bourbon. This is like we're creating memories for people, and that sort of meant a lot to us as just a infant brand, and it just meant, it really meant a lot to us when we started hearing stuff like that. Like, this reminds me of whatever, my grandpa, my dad, or this really reminds me of the holidays when I was a kid. Whatever that memory. We didn't expect that at all coming from like this expression, and it just meant a lot to us. I don't know. We just felt like, wow, we're doing something good here. Let's just keep doing whatever that is. That really was a surprise for us.
Well, think about the conversation that we were having, 10 or 15 minutes ago, when you guys, the two of you, were talking about opening bottles together, even though JP was opening bottles he wasn't supposed to. You're opening bottles together, you're sharing them together.
Yeah. Exactly.
That is actually the worst thing you could have said, is don't open it, because then
but it's all enjoyed around a friendship. And Drew and I have the same kind of things. I mean, we can talk. We could probably be here for the rest of the night talking about bottles that we've shared together and other things that we've shared with other friends, and that's where it works.
Well, I try to my growing up, my house was a dry house. My parents didn't drink, and I'm trying, my dad has passed since, but I tried explaining what I'm doing to my mom, and I explained to her how bourbon is, think more wine type of drinker, but still it's even different than that. I said, bourbon drinkers are going to talk about the product and not even drink that much throughout a night,
right?
And there's going to be stories. There's going to be, remember when we opened that special bottle that night, it's
right.
A community feel, and just going, taking it another level, even with me and Mike very much feel like, you certainly have your competitors, but we feel like if you're good and you do things the right way, you're going to sell your bourbon the way that all of us fanatics are now, right? We're not looking to limit it to 15 bourbons at home. There's really no limit to how many we want, right?
Right.
So, but your favorites, you might have 5 deep or 6 deep, but even with, we obviously we see our, I guess you'd call competitors all the time when we're going around in Kentucky, but it's a really good industry. We're really enjoying it. The drinkers, the other brands as well, influencers, you name it. I mean, obviously guys like you have a great podcast. It's just, it's a bonus part of the job, I guess.
Yeah. I get like a toffee and an orange note on the nose, and then brown sugar, and it's almost like a cookie dough on the palate. I don't know if it's maybe it's a gingerbread or a snickerdoodle or something like that.
That candy ginger note keeps coming back when you talk about these brands. And, I was combing through your website and I saw that as one of the notes on several of the things. Is that something you gravitate towards, or is that just kind of happenstance? Because Kevin and I know both love that note. So,
I mean, if we have any control, like our single barrels, obviously we don't touch, right? Like our 14-year proprietor, we're coming out with a 15-year-old soon. Those are just identified as, these are too damn good to mess with. Leave them alone. You don't touch it with water. You put it in a bottle and you let everyone enjoy it. So those obviously we don't have any input on. But on things like this where barrel finish, and we can control the taste and flavor and notes, we do gravitate towards. I mean, John and I have very similar palates, and luckily for us, Ashley does too. We all sort of are aligned on what, so we can all work together on something and come up with an amazing product, because we all know each other so well that we know that whatever Ashley's doing, we know it's going to be amazing. And John and I will likely have a little input and just come out with something that just tastes great. It's a good team. I mean, we have a really nice little team, and we're coming out with some stuff that we're really proud of. And John and I, we'd never sell anything we wouldn't drink. And everything we've come out with, we, are basically our daily sippers. High proof, low proof, whatever you want to call it. Like we sip on them all day, or not all day, but daily.
Sure.
Some days.
No, well,
Yeah.
I could see, maybe the eve of Christmas Eve, sitting down with a bottle of the holiday toast and putting on some Christmas movies.
Yeah.
And then, 5 or 6 hours later, wondering what happened to the bottle.
That's, you've just described many nights for many people. Like it just happens.
Kevin, I know you've got a whole list of topics that you want to talk about, but I just wanted to speak to that too. You mentioned you wouldn't ever sell anything that you wouldn't drink. And I think so many brands that are non-distilling producers or sourcing or whatever they are, they're taking bulk juice and they're putting it in a fancy bottle, right? And that's it. And I think there's such a level of quality behind what you guys are doing at every level. Number one, from the sourcing of the distillate to hiring a blender that has a palate that is synchronized with yours, to sourcing the casks that are virgin and the intentionally specced out for what you're doing, to the proof point. I mean, that's 110 plus is not a cost effective proof point, as I'm sure you guys know, to come out with these brands. So I would just say, especially for the world that you guys are living in, there's such a level of quality and intentionality behind every step in the process. And I do think that shows. And I think that allows some of those emotional characteristics and the tie-ins to the nights with the Christmas movies and whatever else to really shine through, more than just, they bought this somewhere and slapped a label on it. So just would commend you for that.
Thanks, Drew.
Thank you for noticing. Actually, what you just said was everything we're doing. And, it might get lost in translation to some people, but no, we appreciate you noticing that, because that's the difference between us and maybe a brand that just buying something and throwing it in a bottle and hoping for the best. That is the difference, and it's subtle, but it's all the difference. It makes all the difference in what you're tasting right now.
Right.
Yeah. So
and a lot of people, I think, that want to, hey, let's make a whiskey brand. They'll go into it and they will try to just do it on their own because, well, I've drank bourbon, for 20 years. I know it better than anybody else, so I can do this. The fact that you guys saw the need to reach out to somebody that is a professional in it, and get that consulting help to help you realize your vision. That's a level of humility and maturity that I don't think is necessarily out there with other guys, other people that may have had your dreams. So
right.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
So let's talk a little music if we can.
Yeah.
and so let's start with kind of segue into that and keep on the movie theme of things. Any favorite soundtracks?
So,
well, go ahead, John. You go first. Maybe I'll.
So I would say when I was most into music, it was probably the grunge era, which, and those bands weren't necessarily my favorite, but I was, I don't know. I was most into music and going to a lot of concerts at small venues like Metro and in Chicago and things like that. But there was a movie Singles that came out,
Yeah.
and it was Singles like in Seattle, right?
Yeah.
And I would say that was when I was searching for, some different songs from some of those bands that were breaking through from the Seattle grunge era.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved, you know how music, it's so everyone, I think they roll their eyes at me when they ask a question and I delay my answer. They know it's going to be way too long of an answer, because at one point, the Joshua Tree U2 album in my life was my favorite by far. But if any of those songs were on the radio now, they'd probably turn them. You know what I mean? I don't.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of you come back, and sometimes you never come back. But anyway, so my favorite soundtrack was the Singles soundtrack. That's my short answer on a soundtrack.
Yeah.
So you're saying soundtrack to a movie? Is that what you're saying is, or just soundtrack in general?
Soundtrack to a movie. Yeah.
To a film. Okay.
Yeah. 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 And Singles definitely hits on all the bigger grunge names.
Yeah. Yeah. And then even, like Paul Westerberg in there, and there's a super group too, right? Like Pearl Jam and Soundgarden.
Yeah.
I'm Going Hungry. I don't know if that was part of it.
Yeah.
Singles soundtrack was.
Yeah. But you got,
I don't know when that came out. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And it was
Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It Smashing Pumpkins to tie into your Billy Corgan from earlier.
Yeah. They did one on there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael, any soundtracks stand out to you?
Well, they kind of all get blurred together, but the John Hughes films for me, I grew up watching all of them, and 16 Candles and Breakfast Club, and all of the John Hughes films for me were really I grew up listening to that music, and I just loved it. I mean, the big influence on me, growing up, just those films and all the music.
John Hughes and Cameron Crowe, they kind of they utilize music as much in their movies as I think anybody. Yeah,
I don't have Almost Famous on my all-time, but it's right up.
We did a show not too long ago talking about best movie soundtracks, and Almost Famous, I think, was on all 4 of our panels.
Really? Oh, wow. I got to rewatch that film. I got to see.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think I do now too. But yeah, it's fantastic. So, Michael, do you remember your first concert?
I do. Yep. I was a freshman in high school, and I went to Depeche Mode 101.
Okay.
I'm still a big Depeche Mode fan, but I was a big Depeche Mode fan, and I went to high school in the 90s, so that's when they were sort of kind of thriving. And I forgot the name of the venue. It was in the western suburbs. It's changed names many times, but my buddy
Rosemont Horizon?
No, it wasn't Rosemont. It was I can't remember it. But it's a big venue. It's still there. Anyway, a buddy of mine that was in high school, he was older than me. He had a driver's license. He was like probably a junior. He's like, you want to go to Depeche Mode? I'm like, yeah. So we just went. We drove. It was like an hour away, and I had a great time, man. It was my first concert, and I loved it. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. Is there a favorite Depeche Mode sound or song? I mean,
Enjoy the Silence was one of my favorite. I just remember, that was around when we were getting MTV, and their videos were coming out, and or music videos, and that was one of the music videos that was always played was Enjoy the Silence, and I just love that song. And I guess I have good memories for me from Depeche Mode, just Enjoy the Silence.
Awesome.
Yep. JP, how about you? You remember your first concert?
I do. I remember. Mine's like it's a 2-part. My first concert was John Mellencamp.
Wow.
And
nice. I didn't know that about you.
This was not Cougar. He had dropped the Cougar.
Right.
So, just John Mellencamp. And
Okay.
You remember which album he was touring for?
it was I'll know. I'm going to look at the album cover when I'm not talking.
Okay.
But then there was the one that got me, like, I got to go to more of these all ages shows, and then I continued to go to, like I said, the small venues in Chicago, Metro, and then the Riviera and
The Aragon.
Ballroom. Then I started going all the time. So I went
Yeah.
to see the Soup Dragons.
Soup
Remember the Soup Dragons?
Oh, I forgot about those guys.
All right. And it was an all ages show. And I'm like, this is great, a small venue. And they were unreal. And I was not expecting much. I was not expecting them to be that good. You know, people were crowd surfing, and it was like, this is unbelievable.
There was a local band. Remember, John?
Huh?
What was the local band that we liked? Poi Dog?
Poi Dog Pondering.
Poi Dog Pondering.
That was a little later, but yeah, around that era. We
yeah.
did tons of Poi Dog shows, and they were originally from Hawaii, and then became a Chicago staple.
They became big. And then one of the percussionists that played I don't want to butcher, what is it, bongos, or I don't know whatever the drums were.
He played the bongos.
He was bored. He wanted to work for us because he was just bored. So he just started working ballet with us. He's like, I don't, and he had plenty of money. He wasn't doing it for the money. He's like, yeah, I just want to meet people, So he just parked cars with us all day, and then he would go do concerts, like 100,000 people at a concert or whatever. I don't know, but it was really fun. I don't know. He's a cool guy. Yeah.
Wow. So that took it into the kind of that era of where Chicago music was starting to get a little bit on the map with the Smashing Pumpkins and Liz Phair and Urge Overkill. That whole.
Well, what was funny is we would see Billy Corgan all the time at the Bulls game when we were working the Bulls at the restaurant. So he'd pull up in his Mercedes. He's a really tall guy. He'd have a really nice long black Mercedes. Always pull up, big bald head. He'd put his hoodie on, and I could barely park his car because I'd have to scoot the seat up. But it was just cool, and we knew he lived in Wrigleyville. We knew the house he lived at. It was really close to home for us, to have this superstar be like right. We see him all the time.
And what was funny about him is that was kind of right in the middle of the era, where like Eddie Vedder was starting to come to Chicago quite a bit too, but it was kind of like no one wanted to act like they were making money, even though they were. Remember, that was kind of the grunge thing.
Right.
Billy had the biggest Mercedes.
Oh, I always thought that was so cool. He'd roll up.
Suit.
Yeah. Always looking good. It was cool. I thought it was super cool.
Yeah. Big sports fan. Yeah. So, yeah.
Awesome.
It was a good time in Chicago. I remember those Bulls games, man. That was fun.
He's coming out. He's doing some 3-album rock opera now.
Yeah, he's touring. He's touring with Jane's Addiction right now. Smashing Pumpkins are, and they just did a concert on the Cubs network actually right before they went off on their tour.
Oh, okay.
It was pretty cool. I watched it, but
yeah,
very cool. Well, JP, you remember your first album?
So I remember doing, always trying to tape the songs you like on the radio. Remember that?
Oh, yes.
I was telling my son about that. He was like, that is ridiculous. But
yeah, it's tough when you have a chatty DJ, they want to walk it up to the post.
Yeah.
And come on, I want to hear the guitar intro on this that I'm recording on my tape player. Right.
I think the first one that I actually went into Peaches or whatever and paid money for was the Outfield.
Peaches.
Very cool.
Was the Outfield.
All right.
The one that had, the song that's kind of being brought back now. Josie's on a vacation far
away.
Yeah, I remember that, and I remember I liked way more songs. And I also, so this goes pretty early because I remember it could have been my brother's tape, but I don't think I bought it, but I listened to Level 42. Level 42, okay. I think it was maybe a greatest hits type of thing, and I listened to over and over. And then it was not long after that where I think, and it was a fake tape of Appetite for Destruction for the Guns N' Roses.
Okay, yeah.
Absolutely.
Ooh, wow.
That was, the ones where the people photocopied the artwork. And
yes.
Maxwell Street. That's at Maxwell Street, Chicago.
Yeah. So one of those, I still think the one that I bought legitimately from a record store was the Outfield.
The Outfield.
Can't believe you remember Peaches. I totally forgot about that.
So was that a local record store?
It was Peaches. Yeah, it was. They had multiple.
It was like the mall records.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
right.
That's so funny. I forgot all about that.
Yeah, it was Cats Records where I grew up.
Okay.
Cats.
Yeah. There's like 5 of them in the whole world, and so So, Michael, how about you? You remember your first album?
Well, yeah, bringing up, recording off of the radio on your tape deck or whatever. I grew up in the city, so I was in Chicago, and so that house music was a big deal for us growing up. I was actually not a good DJ, but I was a DJ with my best friend. We had turntables and we had records and stuff.
Awesome.
So I would record like B96, Hot Mix 5, and I think anyone in my high school and my age would have probably tape decks with like Hot Mix 5, like Jumpin' Julian Perez or whatever. So I had all those mixtapes I recorded, and you throw in your tape deck in your car. But the legitimate, like when I went out and bought a album, I think the most influential for me was the Beastie Boys. Me and my best friends from 8th grade all the way through high school were heavily influenced with Beastie Boys and anything that surrounded the Beastie Boys. So, we dressed like them, we looked like them. I just loved anything they came out with for decades. And so I think the most influential for me as a 7th and 8th grader going all the way up probably through college was the Beastie Boys. License to Ill and anything beyond that.
Yeah, we're big Beastie Boy fans here.
Yeah.
They come up quite frequently on the show for some reason.
Yeah.
So
we used to dress like them in 8th grade. I had the hats and the just whatever they would do. It was like that's what we were doing, Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember the Lemonheads?
Oh yeah.
Evan
I remember the Lemonheads.
Way into them, and there was a British band, Ned's Atomic Dustbin. I don't know if
that's a new one on me. Ned's.
They actually were bigger than what it sounds. It sounds like they were small, but check them out one time.
Okay.
That was
we do a playlist every week in conjunction with the release of the episode. So we typically will do a Spotify list based on whatever we talk about in the show. So we'll have to see if there's any recordings from them out there.
Oh,
absolutely. Gray Sells Green, I want to say, was the song that everybody went crazy for. Gray Sells Green by Ned's Atomic Dustbin.
Fantastic. Oh, wow. So what do you listen to now, Michael? What's on your top of your Spotify list or Apple Music?
Funny enough, I'm kind of all over the gamut. I love jazz. Old jazz. I've been listening to a lot of I'll go from like Miami poolside music all the way, DJ like Kevin Yost type of music, all the way to my go-to is really Chicago blues now. I love anything Chicago blues. I've been listening to Chicago blues, probably my whole life, really. I mean, I used to listen to Louis Armstrong in high school. Before any of my friends, I don't know if my friends do now anyway, but I mean, Louis Armstrong, not that he's blues, but I was listening to him, and it sort of transitioned into, I really started getting into Chicago blues probably 15 years ago, and I listen to all of it now. So, and I go back to early days of blues, like they call it Delta blues, where it's just kind of like one guy and a guitar, and he's just pouring his heart out. So you know, I can go from poolside, you know, Miami house music all the way down to old Delta blues. That's kind of the span that I'm in right now.
I think
So,
you covered a large swath of the music.
I
world
did.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But definitely, like, yeah, my kids might be a little confused. Like, if they were to ask me, like, ask them what daddy likes, they probably wouldn't be able to tell. But like when I'm driving them somewhere, I'm usually listening to some kind of blues music. I love blues. That always get me. I used to go to I don't know if you're familiar with Chicago or not, but Kingston Mines in Chicago is a really good blues bar, and man, they got some great live music there. And anytime I'm there, I'll go there and just, you know, at least if it's just for one night, I'll just listen to some great blues music.
Yeah, see, that was going to be my next question because, well, pre-COVID, we would get up to Chicago probably about once a year, and you know, we want to try to get back up there soon. Not too soon because it's, you know, 4 degrees or whatever. But hopefully in the spring.
Yeah.
But what I want to know is where are the places to go hear the best live music? The small venues like you're at Kingston Mines.
I think Kingston Mines is a great spot for blues. You would know more than me now, John, where to go for live music, right?
To me, the small venue rock mecca has always been Metro. It was originally Cabaret Metro, but now it's Metro, and that would be the place where all of these bands I'm talking about, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Pearl Jam, Smashing Pumpkins, these are the venues they were all in, and they were always booked. And then even if, you know, a lot of those bands, they would come back, you know, when they were big and do an unannounced show, you know, maybe the week of Lollapalooza or all of these different things.
It was always a spot to want to like play at late hours.
That is, so it was Metro and the Vic Theater. The Vic does a lot of comedy stuff now and things like that. But the Mecca is absolutely Metro.
The Metro is across the street from Wrigley Field, in case anyone's wondering. Like, it's a great location for. It's on Clark Street, just right across the street from Wrigley Field.
Okay.
The Vic, where's the Vic at? Is that
the
north?
Vic's on Belmont. It's just further south on Belmont and Sheffield. Belmont and Sheffield.
Belmont. Where you can have the Bruin View.
Bruin View
is there. You can have beer and watch the movie at the Bruin View. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's all kind of Wrigley Field, Wrigley, Wrigley centric over there.
Yeah. Okay.
So I guess I didn't give what I listened to.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Yeah.
Same thing. Wide gamut though. It's I still love my rock and roll, and I'm a big Spoon fan. I don't know if you guys listen to Spoon's probably my favorite overall.
Wow.
Rock band right now. I like the Killers a lot.
Yep.
What Mike was getting, what we kind of call poolside or that kind of newer DJ music. I think what happens with that is it's gotten pretty good. And also, I a lot of times envision like a Lucky 7 commercial because they're usually pretty smooth. You know, I picture like a drone coming in, you know, in a beach setting to some of those songs, you know. So I think that's always going through my mind. But there's a DJ called Lane 8. His name is Lane 8. And currently the song Grapevine is one that I kind of have on repeat. And I might play it out and then get sick.
John has an amazing playlist. He's not giving himself any credit. Like we take a lot of road trips. So what I'll end up doing is sometimes I'll fly into Chicago and we'll drive to Kentucky. And that's 5-hour drive. So it's me and John alone in a car for 5 hours.
Right.
And usually it's John's playlist that's going in the car. And it's awesome. And I always told John, you know, if he ever unfortunately has to pass away, I would appreciate it if he left me his playlist in his will. Like, because I'm like, just leave me your playlist. That's all I want from you, man. Like, he's got a great Spotify. I don't even know what it is, Spotify or Pandora or whatever.
I'm actually using Apple, but
okay, whatever. I just want to be left his playlist because it's awesome. It's just a great collection of just great, easy listening, like poolside beats. Like we could just jam out for 5 hours in the car and it'd be like gone, you know, like nothing.
But you know, you feel bad leaving a podcast like this and not bringing up, you know, guys like Chris Stapleton too. You know what I mean? It's like
right.
Of course.
And then I had written down here Sugar. Bob Mould formed a band called Sugar in the 90s, and Bob Mould was the Husker Du lead singer.
Yep.
Kind of a more punkish band, but that Copper Blue, Sugar Copper Blue is my all-time favorite album. But
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Damn.
I have that
that
in
about
my notes.
That's
Kind of just
very
like
interesting.
power chord rock, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's it.
Awesome.
Very cool. I like that. I like that a lot. Well, we want to, sometime when you guys are in town, we need to just get together and
No question.
have a drink, have a meal, or come hang out on my porch and we'll listen to music and drink.
Yeah,
and,
we love that the most. Yeah.
So, but
We're in. No question about it.
I am very excited about what you guys have going on. I love the authenticity that you're bringing to it, the heart that you're bringing to it, and I'm excited for you guys and the success that you're having. And you keep doing stuff like these two.
Oh,
You're
Nice.
gonna have a lot of good times together. So and help other people have good times as well. So
yeah,
that's
the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
So-
love hearing stories about what their people's experiences, what memories it brought back, or what great times they created, or it's just we like it, not to go on about this, but it really is special for us to hear, like, oh my God, you created such a great time for us, such a great memory for us,
Yeah.
or this brought back such great memories. Those things we did not expect getting into this. We didn't, anyway, it means a lot to us. So yeah, hopefully we'll keep doing it. Hopefully it'll keep making everyone happy and excited, and but it does mean a lot to us, for whatever it's worth. And
Yeah.
it just makes, I think it makes me and John even more motivated to come out with
Yeah,
more
and we're gonna
amazing stuff, and keep it going.
in Kentucky too. You guys should be pretty stacked up for the holidays, with what's there now, plus what we're going to get in stores, and then also for people who or states we're not in, we should have more our website stacked up a little more too in the next few weeks.
Yeah. No, where are you right now in terms of distribution? I meant to ask that earlier.
In states, we're
Yeah.
I think we're in 14 states. What we've been trying to do is keep our website stocked, because we're selling to 48 states now
Okay.
on our website. And so, states that can't get us, you just go on our website. But we've been having a good, all good problems, but we've been selling out very quickly on our website. So it's hard to keep it restocked. So we're trying to figure out a way to just consistently keep it, so we're not running out. But we're in Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois,
Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan,
Colorado, New York, New Jersey,
Massachusetts.
Rhode Island. I'm drawing a blank right now, just coming off the fly, but Texas. Did I say Texas?
No.
Okay.
Texas.
Yeah.
Texas is a big one. Texas is sucking up a lot of. They like to drink.
It's always kind of the balance of the amount you produce, and the amount of states, because you don't want to just run to as many states as you can either, and then just have a little bit for everyone. So that's what we're managing now to make sure that we're established.
It definitely it's this fine line you have to walk. You don't want to, upset anyone that you're not available all the time, and so we have to kind of pick and choose where we're at. But that's why we try to do the website. I feel like not too many brands are doing it. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but we just really wanted to be available in every state that we're not in. So people that, I wish we were here, and this and that, we try to make it available on our website. So you just get it. You
Yep.
know, I don't know what the shipping charge is, but it's probably worth it if you can't get it in your state. You know.
Yeah. Lucky7spirits.com. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, exactly. Lucky7spirits.com. We also have another domain, Lucky 7 Bourbon, Lucky7 the number bourbon.com, just in case that's too long for people to spell out. So it'll direct
you get it both ways. You get it both ways.
Yes, exactly.
Good.
Yeah, we're trying to make it easy.
Well, where else can people find you on social media?
We're at
Either
Lucky,
individually or the band or the brand.
We're at Lucky the number 7 Bourbon on both Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
And I think that's really it. Right, John? Or are we on TikTok too?
That's it. We're working on TikTok right now.
Yeah, but
not yet.
Yeah, the best way to communicate to us through us and see us, you know, as Instagram and Facebook, and that's both Lucky 7 the number Bourbon.
Good, fantastic. Drew, where can people find you on social?
Yeah, I will be on Twitter till it's imminent demise, being a jerk at Drew Crawley 63. I'll be on Instagram at drew.crawley63. That's primarily where you can find updates on music releases and live dates. We're getting ready to gear up for this album release early next year, so follow along there. You'll see some more live dates. And then, of course, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever you listen to music. I would be honored if you would check that out.
Fantastic.
We will.
We will be there.
As for the show, you can watch us on YouTube, and we have a channel there that you can subscribe to, and I wish that you would. We are also, if you just want to listen to the show, we are also on your favorite podcast platforms, as long as that's Apple or Spotify or Google. We have a Facebook page where we post all of our shows. We have a Facebook group where we invite people to join the group and post about what are you drinking that night and what are you listening to while you're drinking it. We're also on Instagram, and when we're out at live shows, we'll post some videos of who we're listening to, who we're seeing live, so you can kind of get a feel for some bands that you may not have heard of before or may not have seen. So we're about anywhere you want to look, and hope that you will subscribe or follow, as the case may be, and help support the show, because we enjoy what we're doing and love the fact that we're getting folks like JP and Michael on here to talk about what they're doing. Because the thing that came through tonight that I wasn't necessarily expecting was the passion that you have for it.
That's right.
And the passion for not just why we love bourbon, but the passion that you have for making sure that you're getting it right.
Mm-hmm.
And the passion for the people that are your consumers, your fans of your product. So that is very commendable and admirable. And so heart goes out to what you're doing.
Appreciate
it. Yeah,
that.
thank you. Yeah, we want to be that brand that's here, 100 years from now. Like, oh my God, I found this dusty bottle in my grandpa's, wall, and he was hiding it. That's our goal,
Me and Mike don't plan on doing anything else other than this.
Yeah.
So, well, it's a great thing to do, and you're doing it really well. So, congratulations.
Well, we really enjoyed the show. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I'm glad. Again, thank you both for being on, and on behalf of Drew and JP and Michael, until next time, cheers, love, guys. Free bird.
Free bird.
Free bird.
You got one drop.
Good night, everybody.
Take care, guys.
Night.